this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please. We say fetch now.
You know, there was a time when James Carville was the guy you called if you wanted to win an election. He practically wrote the modern Democratic playbook. So when Carville looked at recent Democratic losses and blamed them on what he bluntly called stupid wokeness, he wasn't just being cranky, he was being brutally honest. Of course, AOC immediately fired back, claiming that woke is just a word old people use now, like the political equivalent of the crying laughing emoji. Apparently, acknowledging reality now has an age limit. But here's where it gets funny, or tragic, depending on how you see it. The same people who coined the word woke, who wore it like a badge of honor at every protest and #march, are suddenly pretending it never existed. Just last year, The Guardian literally called woke the word of our era. Now everyone's scrambling to delete old tweets like, wait, no, we don't say that anymore. It's mean girls for political jargon. Stop trying to make woke happen. And that's exactly the absurdity Bill Maher is calling out. Before we go deeper, if you enjoy sharp commentary that cuts through the nonsense, hit like and subscribe. It really helps keep these conversations alive. Now back to the firestorm. Maher isn't just clowning on AOC for denying wokeness. He's calling out an entire movement that took something rooted in awareness and turned it into self-righteous theater. You'd think after getting walloped at the polls, Democrats might pause and reassess, maybe even move closer to where most Americans actually live. Instead, they're doubling down, sprinting toward the edge of the ideological cliff. What's wild is that Maher actually admires some of what AOC stands for. He's said he supported her early on, especially with the Green New Deal. But he also knows that conversation will never happen, because Democrats today won't show up anywhere they're not pre-adored. They stick to safe spaces, applause on cue audiences, and zero uncomfortable questions. Maher's advice is simple. Go where the almond corner isn't. Go on Fox News. Go anywhere outside the bubble. Because winning isn't about preaching to people who already agree with you. It's about expanding the conversation.
That said, I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
That's why Maher's critique stings so hard. He's not speaking as an enemy. He's speaking as someone who still believes the Democratic Party can be saved. But let's be honest, this whole woke denial routine is bizarre. It's like watching someone argue with their own reflection. AOC isn't saying she disagrees with woke ideology, she's just mad at the label. It's the political equivalent of saying, I still believe all of this, just please don't call me that in public. In other words, she's fully woke, just image conscious about it. Maher's bigger point is that modern progressives aren't really liberals anymore. Liberalism used to mean open debate, reason, and a willingness to listen to people you disagree with. Now it's become a purity cult, where everyone's terrified of saying the wrong word or liking the wrong tweet. Step 1 inch outside the approved narrative and you're cancelled, blocked, and branded a traitor.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders they're oppressors. That's all your new thing.
And it's no wonder the word woke went from rallying cry to insult in record time. If it still stood for fairness or awareness, Honest history, equality, justice, AOC and her circle would proudly own it. But that's not what people think of anymore. Now woke conjures images of hypersensitive online mobs, people who wake up offended, and activists who treat Twitter trends like moral law. It's exhausting. Woke used to mean alert to injustice. Now it means allergic to reality.
Trends like moral law. It's exhausting. The truth is, woke used to mean alert to injustice. Now it means allergic to reality.
A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Maher's had enough. He's reminding Democrats that the average American doesn't sit around saying birthing people or menstruating individuals. They say women, like normal human beings. Yet the modern left insists on replacing plain English with pseudoscientific language no one actually uses, then acts shocked when working-class voters think they've lost touch with reality. But Maher's frustration isn't just about language, it's about priorities. Democrats used to be the party of workers, the middle class, the people who got things done. Now they've morphed into an elite performance troupe more focused on signaling virtue than solving problems. They host conferences on lived experiences while people can't afford groceries. They obsess over pronouns while cities crumble and small businesses shut down. And when Maher invites them on his show to talk about it, they disappear. Not because he's hostile, but because he's honest. He believes in tough love and accountability, and that's kryptonite to political influencers who want applause, not debate.
That said, I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
Maher isn't wrong when he asks the million-dollar question. How can a party that supports so many middle-class benefits still come across as completely out of touch? The answer is simple. Nobody likes a snob. Hillary Clinton didn't even have a rural outreach team until the very end of her 2016 campaign. And when she finally hired one, they were based in Brooklyn. Because nothing says I understand small-town America like setting up shop next to an artisanal oat milk cafe. Politics, as Maher puts it, isn't locally sourced, it's local. It's about showing up, being present, and being real where people actually live. Somehow, that message keeps getting lost on a new generation of Democrats more interested in retweets than results. The outcome: a party bleeding support among the voters it once owned.
You can give the people all the goodies Joe Manchin will allow, and it doesn't seem to buy their love. Why? Why is the party that supports so many issues that benefit the middle class still considered out of touch by 62% of Americans? In plain English, nobody likes a snob. Hillary Clinton didn't have anyone on rural research or outreach when she ran in 2016 until the race tightened just before the election. Then
Maher lays it all out. The obsession with microaggressions, trigger warnings, and identity quotas has backfired spectacularly. When you replace merit with box checking, you insult the intelligence of the very people you claim to help. When you prioritize feelings over facts, you lose credibility. And when you stop saying women out of fear of offending someone, you alienate the vast majority of women who just want to be acknowledged. He points out how this participation trophy mentality has spilled into everything. People expect rewards for existing, not for excelling.
Our microaggression culture doesn't play in the Rust Belt. If a staffer hands you a speech that says menstruating people instead of women, don't say that. Say women. Don't put anyone fresh out of college in charge of the campaign. They've been given participation trophies their whole life. They don't know how to win.
That same mindset has infected activism and politics. When your strategy is built on moral posturing instead of real achievement, voters notice, and they have. To many Americans, the modern Democratic Party looks like the "we care about everyone except you" party. Maher even jokes that Democrats seem more invested in solving problems everywhere except America. They'll rally for Gaza, host fundraisers for Guatemala, and write open letters about Afghanistan, all noble causes. But when it comes to housing, infrastructure, or clean water at home, suddenly it's gridlock and excuses. He gave the perfect example: a $1 trillion infrastructure bill that would have improved roads, bridges, and transit, real, tangible progress. 6 progressives voted against it because it didn't go far enough on climate change. Free money on the table, and they said no. Voters saw that and thought, wait, what?
Yes, I know. I know every fiber of your being tells you the people you really want to reach are Guatemalan teenagers and bloggers in Gaza, but they can't vote. To a lot of folks in America, you come across as the cares about everybody but me party. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can find ways to stand up for these folks without being David Duke. This month, when the Democrats finally passed their big $1 trillion bill to rebuild our roads and bridges, 6 Democrats voted no because it didn't go far enough to address climate change, which I'm sure is true. What does? But this was free money from the federal government that would actually improve their constituents' lives. I can see a voter saying, you know, squad, I agree with you on climate change. But as long as it is happening, we also need money for getting the water pumped out of the subway.
The far left is so obsessed with perfection that they'd rather let Americans struggle than compromise an inch. When you govern like that, people start wondering if you even remember who you work for. Then comes the issue that perfectly exposes how detached the woke left has become: abortion. For decades, liberals said abortion was a women's issue. If men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be debated. Suddenly, that logic is problematic. Now you're supposed to say birthing people. Maher hilariously points out how absurd it is that we now have pregnant man emojis, as if a cartoon icon can rewrite biology.
And there's abortion. A difficult issue for the Democrats to lose on. But they're trying. For decades, liberals have said if only men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be an issue. And abortion rights are women's rights. Well, that's wrong now. Or as the kids say, hold up. When the wokey end of the progressive spectrum talks about abortion now, they shy away from that word, women, and prefer terms like birthing people or people who menstruate, because somewhere there's a trans man who's pregnant, and I say good for him, and I'll be looking for his story somewhere in a future issue of Ripley's Believe It or Not.
At some point, the performance became the point. The cause became the costume. And ordinary Americans are tired of it. When politicians spend more time inventing new terms than fixing real problems, people tune out. They stop trusting. They stop voting. It's already happening. A heavily Latino district on the Texas border flipped red for the first time in decades. The Democratic campaign manager blamed everything except the obvious. Voters no longer see Democrats as their lawyers. Maher nailed it when he said, "They're not asking you to be the lawyer for migrants crossing their backyard. They're asking you to be their lawyer."
Last week, an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer. That's why. Their message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard.
That one sentence says it all. Because Maher's takedown of AOC and the woke left isn't just about labels. It's about a party that's forgotten how to connect with the people it represents. From denying biological reality to rejecting practical solutions, from global theatrics to ignoring local pain, Democrats have alienated the middle of America while preaching inclusion. Maher's warning couldn't be clearer. You don't win elections with purity tests. You win by solving problems. Right now, the party seems allergic to compromise and humility. Instead of reflecting on losses, they blame voters for not being educated enough. But people understood the message, they just didn't like it. Americans don't want politics that feels like a graduate seminar in social theory. They want jobs, affordable living, safety, and leaders who talk to them like adults. Maher's closing advice to his own party is simple. Stop chasing online applause and start showing up in the real world. Stop talking like activists and start listening like public servants. Go where the almond corner isn't, because that's where democracy actually lives. Maybe Maher isn't the enemy. Maybe he's the mirror. And if they don't like what they see, that might be the whole point.